So this tutorial is based on mostly creating your table in an Excel document. I've already gone through and created my Excel table that I want to include in my graph. Um, I have the headings of each of my columns, the information, my data. However, you see, I still have to finish including the data over here. So what I am trying to do is find, first of all, an average of the proficiency answers for each question. Each of the questions were based on a 1 through 5 scale, as you can see right here. And the answers within my table are the student responses. So it's not actually the fact that there were an average of 2, it was average of 2 students that are answering there. So when I create my average over here, it's a little bit different. I've already inputted the formula into this first cell, so you can see it up here. Whenever we need to use formulas, you have to start with an equal sign. That is the clue to start your formula. So what I do, and the easiest thing for students, as I've come to learn, is to just have them input the formula you wish them to have. So I started with parentheses, and the first cell I need to include for this was C4. So I'll do this for the second row. So I place enter from my keyboard, and the first cell I need to include after my parenthesis is C5. Now I'm looking at question number 2. Any students that answer in the C cells is going to have an answer of 1. So 1 times anything is just 1. I don't need to add multiplication. I add my addition sign because to find average, you have to add up all your answers first. And I click the next cell to the right of it, which is the D column. Any student that answers in this is going to have to multiply that amount by 2 because each student's answer is a proficiency of 2. So at D5, I put the multiplication sign, which is the asterisk, and I multiply it by 2. Followed by that, I continue going through and just multiplying my cells by the response that they're supposed to be representing. So now I'm going over to E5 and multiplying that by 3 plus, move my mouse, F5, multiply that by 4 plus G5 and multiply that by 5. I'm then closing my parentheses because that's the first piece, and I need to take all of that, since again it's average, and divide it by my total number of students. So I had 3 plus 2, and that's also a 2 that's being covered right there. I apologize for that. So 3 plus 3 plus 2 gives me a total of 8 students. You can also see every answer down here is going to equate to 8 as well. And that's my formula. It's an average formula that I would use without Excel, but it calculates it for me. So it's pretty much a built-in calculator, which is nice. The other nice piece of this, which I could have done from the top cell, so it tells me I have an average of 3 88/100ths. Proficiency average. Notice I have a plus sign now instead of a white plus sign. I have a black plus sign. This means I can drag. So I'm going to click that corner, it's always the bottom right hand corner, and drag it all the way down for all the cells I want to use that formula for. And now I have my average formula. Doing this, it goes horizontally. So in this one, all of my cells that I used were horizontal. In this one, it was all horizontal. So as I dragged it down, you'll see the change. So this was all for row 4, so everything has 4 in it, C4, D4, E4, F4, so on and so forth. Right? My next cell over here was 5, C5, D5, again when you look back up at the formula, bar, and so on and so forth. These are all C, D, E, 6s, now 7s, now 8s. So it dragged everything all horizontally. Each number that I typed in could be considered a constant, and that stayed the same throughout each of them. So now I have my final. Notice my formatting is a little off, so if you excuse me, I'll go correct that real quickly. So now I have all my data. I need to put a graph in. So what I'm going to click, this is going to be my key. So I need to include that. And then I'm going to, on a Mac, Command, click, and then drag all the data that I want to include. This is what I want to put in my graph. I want to compare the average proficiencies that I got with each of my questions. I'm going to go up to charts, and I prefer for this information to use a column chart, and I'm just going to do a very simplistic one, two-dimensional, two-column. In this case, it's one column because there's only one column of data. And notice that it's already put in a title for me, which is very nice. And my key is the same thing that's written over here. Notice if I change my information here, it will change it in my key. So if this needs to be altered, you do have to alter it in your original graph. So it's a little heads up for some people. I'm going to move my table or my graph down. And notice I don't have any axis titles. So I want to put that in. I'm going to go to chart layout, and it's all right here. So if I didn't have a chart title to begin with, I could put it in right here. This is going to put in my axis titles. So I want both of them. I'm going to go through and do both. This gives me the one for my x-axis, and I just highlight like a regular text box, and I'm going to put in question numbers. That's the data that's followed down there. And then my vertical, which is my y, I'm going to do rotated. That's my personal preference. And highlight, and this is my average proficiency scale. Alright, so now you can see I've inputted my data into my table up here. If any of this is altered, so say, oh no, this is supposed to be 2, and that's supposed to be 2, so I still have my total of 8 students, and notice it changed it to 4. Now my graph is already changing, it's an average of 4, so go back and put the correct information that's supposed to be there. But again, it's just showing the alteration, so that's the nice thing about the graph, is you don't have to alter anything. I've added my axis labels, which is something that is required by teachers in just about any academic level. All of my labels are already here, my key, and then my title. And I can change my title. I don't necessarily want to be the same as this, so average proficiency for students. And that's all I need to do to create a graph within the data of my Excel document. I hope this helped you find a couple of the pieces of information, and I will talk to you again soon.